So before we move on to the Q&A session, I would like to ask each of you, because you've been part of the book, what this experience has meant both personally and professionally in your case. So if you want, you can start with Katia, and I think it would be great if you can start by introducing yourself so that everyone gets to know the great person you are.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I'm so glad I actually made it here. I wasn't too sure that was going to happen. So my name is Katia Gómez, born and raised in California. So I started the organization Educate2envision when I was fresh out of college. And this organization works in the most rural areas of Honduras, where there's no access to high school. And we start high schools for the very first time in these villages. So where to go with my experience of, okay. So my experience contributing to this book, to Pangea, has really been, it's helped me to understand how I came and why I even decided to start the organization, because it helped me to realize that the people that have inspired me the most have been those students in those communities who have never seen the inside of a high school classroom before, the students who are every day hoping for an open door. And I was so fortunate myself to have that open door as a college student, volunteering abroad, traveling, and to visit areas where people, young people my age, could only dream of going past sixth grade, but who had that desire and into their late 20s, into their 30s, waiting for a chance to be the first in their communities to go to high school. So being able to contribute to this book reminded me of why I do this in the first place. I think that we can all say that it's a 24/7 plus job that we do here, but when you're reminded of that first moment that you were inspired, that's really what keeps me going, and I'm sure what keeps everyone going. So this book really helped to reinforce that for me.
Great. Mohamed?
Much like Katia, really, writing the book was a moment of reflection. You know, you spend like so much time always stressing about what you're doing, like meeting deadlines, trying to satisfy clients, that you never really have the time to think about, why did I start this? Why am I doing this? And writing the book was pretty much a time like where I could sit down, and though I don't like writing that much, I'm not going to say it was like the most enjoyable part of the book, but that reflection was really instrumental. And now that you have a clearer mind why you're doing this, you can easily speak about it for other people, inspire other people to follow suit. Obviously, the biggest benefit was meeting these amazing people. Now that I can call my friends, I've never met Katia, but like this is the first time, and I feel that we're friends forever. You know, just by reading her chapter and knowing what she stands for, much like all the authors here. So really, thank you for that opportunity, and I hope that if anything, I hope each one of us managed to inspire at least one person who managed to read the book, to get out there and do something about whatever issue they feel really strongly about.
Great. André?
For me, being part here of Pangea and the book, it's amazing. I mean, when we met first time, I immediately felt a connection, because what I'm doing is to try to inspire people through entrepreneurship and through traveling, and what Pablo is doing here, what Pangea is doing here, is trying to unleash this potential that young people have. So the connection was very quick, and I'm very happy to be here. I'm very honored to be here in the middle of all of you.
Thank you so much.
Well, I mean, to echo much of what you've said, I was just a high school student, and one day the people from Pangea called me, and I'd never heard of them, and I said, these people are crazy. And they are, trust me, they're really, really crazy, but in a wonderful way. And both the book, with the support of Aguilar, but also of my friends, has been incredibly inspiring, and a reflection not just on my life, but on how other people lead their lives, right? And I was the epilogue, so I kept asking and said, give me Katia's chapter, give me Mohamed's chapter, give me Andre's chapter, give me your chapter, Pablo. And as I read it and I tried to form a conclusion, I was so energized and inspired and invigorated by the fact that change doesn't happen in one way. It's not just being an entrepreneur, although it's a lifestyle. It's also going out to Honduras. It's also planning a conference in Madrid. And the common theme that I saw among my friends was there is no limit, right? Nothing is impossible if you put in the hard work, if you fight for it. And really, I'm very humbled to have participated in the book and and really to reflect not just on my life, but on your lives as well.
And within the, when we get to see your talks and everything you kind of like reflect on, one of the main messages that I took from each of you was the importance of entrepreneurship in today's world. But kind of like going, and as you guys define it as an attitude towards life, how important do you think that attitude is nowadays, especially as everything is changing and everything is changing faster and faster every day? How do you think, and we tend to think that the money is like what drives the world in every single factor and case, how do you think that attitude is going to replace the importance of money when it comes to redefine and transform everything that happens around us? Who wants to go first?
Sure, I'll take a shot.
Ladies first.
I think that, so when I think of entrepreneurship, that's not something that I ever felt like I was born to do. I didn't, grow up thinking that I had the ability. I was actually much more of an introvert. I was very shy. I didn't think that I would be someone who would be out there, knocking on doors, buy my product or do this or give me, donations or anything. Like I was the one who would just much rather be in the background. Like I'll send you an email, I'd prefer to just be behind a screen. So to grow into that role really was out of necessity. So it was going on to Honduras that trip and then realizing that my own weaknesses, or what I perceived to be weaknesses, they couldn't stand in my way of helping other people. So I had to just say, okay, I'm not someone who wants to stand in front of a crowd, but if I'm going to make an impact, then I have to say, forget about you being shy. Like these are people's lives at stake. These are people who you can really make an impact for. So having the entrepreneurial attitude is something that I've tried to also pass on to our students in Honduras as well. So even though they don't have, the startup capital, or they don't have the internet even yet, a lot of them to research, how do I start a business? It's about at least showing them that no matter what, you can be a leader. And so through that, being able to pass on that attitude, as I mentioned, not the money, but that fierce, the perseverance, I think above all else is what I've tried to pass on.
One of the questions that we had to answer when we had all these interviews these 2 days was, what is entrepreneurship for you? What does it mean for you to be an entrepreneur? And my answer was to be yourself. Right? Because in the end, as you said before, we never grow up wanting to be one, but in the end, when you find yourself doing what you really love, then you become, and you call yourself an entrepreneur all of a sudden. So what do you think, for example, in your case, because you've done so many different things, and as you said, I don't know anything about what I do from a technical perspective, but I do it, and I make it happen. So what are your thoughts in that sense?
No, exactly. I just like to go back to the money versus attitude point. Today, you don't need money to start anything. You can either bootstrap or raise outside financing. I mean, even the most basic things, you can build an app just by having access to a laptop and internet. A kid probably in a garage in Ghana has almost the same resources to build a multi-billion-dollar company as an engineer in Silicon Valley. Because when you code an app, all you need truly is the knowledge and the attitude to pursue the idea in the first place. A lot of people, they have great ideas, but they don't want to go the extra mile because they think that it's going to be too tiring. I'm not going to be able to go out with my friends on a Thursday night. I'm not going to be able to meet my girlfriend most of the time. This is the attitude we need to fight because being the best version that you want to be requires sacrifice. And entrepreneurship is accepting that sacrifice. Sacrifice in terms of sleep, in terms of friendship sometimes, in terms of social life. And entrepreneurs know that that sacrifice is going to bear results. You're sacrificing today for tomorrow. And that's, for me, that's entrepreneurship. That's the right attitude if you want to get out there and accomplish something big.
What do you think about that? She's been traveling to so many different places where, as you said before, you need to put life into perspective. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts when it comes to find what entrepreneurship can actually do to create a better world for everyone?
In these days, like I said on my talk, everything is very uncertain, and we, the young generation, we are facing problems that our parents did not face. So everything is new. We need to find solutions. There's almost no role models, no examples for us to follow. And that's difficult. And I believe because entrepreneurship for me, as I said, is an attitude. It's for you to fight for your goal, fight for what you want. It's not starting business. It could be start a business, but it's not starting a business. And nowadays, with this uncertainty, you need to be to become an entrepreneur, to make things happen. Even if you want to travel around the world, if you want to start a company, if you want to get a job, there's one job offer, there's 100 guys applying. You need to be different. You need to fight. You need to not just send an email. You need to probably knock on the door and, hey, I'm better than the other ones. I'm here. I came all the way from Portugal here with this, I don't know, this paper, and I made it to Madrid because I want to get this job. So you need to be an entrepreneur in that sense. Everyone needs to do it. Everyone needs to go for it. I'm seeing a lot of young people, and as Mohamed said, if you want to do it, you can do it. But if you don't want to do it, it will not happen.
Absolutely. And Tomás, in your case, after everything you had to go through and the experience you talked about before, do you call that, for example, being an entrepreneur, kind of like being able to face all those challenges that were absolutely unexpected for you and brought to you a different, a situation that, as I said, was absolutely unexpected and you didn't know what to do, and especially because of your age at that time. So do you think that was kind of like a case of entrepreneurship, for example?
Well, I think that's a very interesting question, and I'd never thought of it in that paradigm. Maybe, right? But I think what's more important is that it's an attitude to life. And Pablo, the way we decided we wanted to end the book was with the phrase, ahora te toca a ti, right? Now it's your turn. And I think what we hope really is that among the people here, and here, a few of you today will go back and scratch down a few ideas, escribir un par de ideas y decir, ¿qué puedo hacer? What can I do with this, right? Because if we all go home and we just go to sleep, we didn't achieve anything. And if you want to inspire, if we want to overcome both the hardships but also the great things in life, we have to fight. But you have to start at some point. And I'm going to say this in Spanish so I think everyone can understand me, but creo que una de las cosas que más me ha inspirado de trabajar con ellos ha sido que yo jamás me vi como un entrepreneur. Yo voy a una universidad donde la mayoría de gente la entrenan para ser un empresario, estar en una corporación grande, hacer lo que le toca hacer. Y verdaderamente es una inspiración estar con gente que sabe salirse de la caja, de pensar de maneras diferentes, de maneras críticas y afrontar los problemas que no solo tienen ellos delante, sino que tienen otras personas. Y yo sé que también hay personas mayores aquí. Por favor, inspirad a la gente. Que seáis mayores no quiere decir que ya se haya acabado todo, que penséis solo en la jubilación, que tenéis mucho que aportar también, de verdad. Pero de verdad, you guys need to inspire, and you need to inspire yourself, and you need to motivate yourself, and you're the only one who's going to be able to do it.
That takes us to the next question that I wanted to do. It's like here, as Tomás just clearly said, we have young people and not so young people, let's put it that way. And if it had to be like a couple of recommendations or pieces of advice for them, one for the younger generation and one for the a bit less young generation, what would you tell them? Both to parents, grandparents, whatever, and to those that are part of our own generation, what would you tell them if you, I mean, now that you have the chance to kind of like tell them something about, don't do this, go for that, don't be afraid of failing, as we always say, but what kind of things would you tell to both sides?
I'll take that first. I'll address the old people in the room.
The less young.
The less young.
The less young.
So most of you, I believe, had dreams when you were young. You wanted to be something. You wanted maybe to be a pilot. Maybe you wanted to have your own business. Maybe you wanted to be an artist. But you decided to take a job. How much did they pay you for you to drop that dream? How much did that first job, what was that salary that you got that put you in that state of mind that I'm going to put aside my dream and I'm going to work for these guys? And think 1 second, is that what your dreams are worth? Were you paid 5,000 euros, let's say, a month? Was that how much you were going to accept to give up on your dreams? Dreams are priceless. So never settle for just a salary. Never, if you feel that you're going to be happier by doing what you love, then drop everything and do what you love. We only have one lifetime. Why waste it on building someone else's dream? Why waste it? And then like 10 years from now, 20 years from now, all you're going to be left with are regrets. Not like how much money you made, but what could I have done differently? It's never too late to decide, I'm going to follow my dream. Regardless of my age, I'm going to do it. And if the world doesn't live with it, so be it. For the young people, I was in your place when I was in high school. You know, at that time, I had no idea what entrepreneurship even meant. I didn't even know that I could have the ability to start a business, let alone speak in public or meet clients. All I was thinking was pretty much to satisfy my parents, get a good grade, and just like be the good students that everyone wanted for me to be. But then at some point I realized, is that what I really want to do in life? Am I going to be happy with my choices? Because I'll have to live with that choice for an entire lifetime. Not one day, not 1 year, probably 60 years. Are you ready to make that gamble? Or are you going to say no? I'm going to do whatever I want to do. I'm going to do what makes me happy. Not what my parents tell me, not what my school teacher tells me. Obviously don't smoke, that's a good thing to keep in mind. But follow your dreams. Follow your dreams. And you'll really be happy for doing that a couple of years from now. It might be hard at the beginning, maybe it will not pay as much, maybe it's not going to be as acceptable, but it's going to be fulfilling. And that's what life is about.
Kat, in your case, you're trying to transform the way education works in Honduras, and you have, I'm probably sure that you have to work both with those kids, but also with their parents. Here, and in many other countries in the world, education doesn't even work. What would you say to those, as he said before, parents that are obsessed with their kids getting good grades as kind of like a path to achieve success and be happy in life? What would you tell them about that?
Well, I think first just going back to the original question too, just for a second. So I'm actually really excited to see adults and parents in this room because as I talk about in the book, sometimes as I've even me myself in college speaking to professors or speaking to authors and people who have published all these great works, sometimes you speak to them and it's really intimidating and they don't really do much to help you with that intimidation because they, you know, at a certain age start to seem like, well, I know all there is to know, and what else can I really learn? And I feel like just having adults in this room shows that there's still more that people are looking to learn, and they feel that they can learn from young people. And I think that that is a culture that I would like to see, you know, more widespread throughout the adult in the world, because I mean, whether or not you have a kid approach you who went to an Ivy League school, Stanford, Harvard, or whether you have a kid who approached you who never graduated high school and they want your advice on something, you know, how do you interact with that person? Do you prefer to speak to the person who only went to the Ivy League school, or do you open yourself up to young people in general who are looking to you as an older person, a mentor, for advice? So I think keeping that, you know, not having that judgment on who comes to approach you as a young person, being able to have the knowledge and not hoard the knowledge, but to possess it and to share it with younger people. So moving really, okay, so fast forwarding back to Pablo, your actual question. In Honduras, it's a little bit of a different situation. So we aren't encountering too much of parents who are focused on grades. It's more so parents who are saying education is useless at all, right? So that's sort of a whole different conversation that we have to have with parents, is showing them the investment of education, but also the way that their students, their kids develop into these leaders who are creating change throughout the entire community. So when they see their daughter, for example, who they feel should already be married at 13 years old, should already have a family, who needs to just be at home cleaning instead, when they see their daughter is out there and she's teaching other adults how to read and write, you know, that entrepreneurial spirit, then they start to have that shift as well, and they participate in the process too. So it's a little bit of a different world, but it all has to come, the parents and the students learn together, ultimately.
Tomás, comentabas antes, dirigiéndote al público menos joven de la sala, cómo precisamente no tenían que pensar en la jubilación todavía. Y una de las cosas que creo que son más importantes, sobre todo cuando hablamos de padres y madres que están viviendo o que están viendo cómo sus hijos al mismo tiempo viven esta etapa tan diferente, con tantos cambios y con tantas oportunidades, ¿qué les dirías tú, siendo como tú decías antes, no me he considerado nunca un emprendedor hasta que he participado en esto, ¿qué les dirías tú a esos padres, madres, abuelos, abuelas, que ven cómo sus hijos e hijas crecen en un entorno radicalmente diferente al suyo, con más oportunidades que nunca, para que realmente no se queden en el camino y que luchen por ellas?
Bueno, creo que algo que en España falta es aceptar que no pasa nada si nos equivocamos. Si intentamos algo y no sale bien, aquí en España hay un tabú de que eso es, ya, para, no vuelvas a intentarlo, mejor vete a clase, saca buenas notas y ve a la universidad. Os animo a hacer eso también, pero creo que es súper importante, tanto para los que tienen más experiencia como para los que tienen menos experiencia, una actitud de aceptar que equivocarse está bien, que animéis a que los hijos aprendan a través de la experiencia. Yo sé que mis padres siempre me han educado así, ya te equivocarás y si sale bien, mejor, y si no, aprenderás. Y la verdad es que ayuda muchísimo, porque eso hace que tú vayas viendo qué has hecho bien, qué no has hecho tan bien, y animadles a que den un salto, un brinco, quizá que se vayan un año a estudiar fuera y luego vuelvan a casa. No sé, hay mil maneras, pero creo que hay que salir de la mentalidad de que solo hay que ir a bachillerato, solo hay que ir a la universidad y que hay que estudiar una cosa solamente. El mundo es muy, muy grande, hay muchísimas oportunidades fuera y dentro de España y también hay que enfatizar eso, que en España hay muchísimas oportunidades muy diferentes. Por ejemplo, si hay alguno que no ha entrado en bachillerato aún, tanto Mohamed como yo fuimos, yo estuve en Gales y él estuvo en Noruega con una organización que se llama Colegios del Mundo Unido, que beca a chavales para que hagan bachillerato en colegios en 16 países del mundo, en India, en Noruega, ¿dónde más? Gales, where else? South Africa, Hong Kong, en China ahora, en Alemania, en muchísimos sitios. Os animo a que apliquéis, a que os preparéis, a que busquéis dentro de vuestras comunidades las diferentes oportunidades. Una vez más, que se equivoquen, no pasa nada, que además esa experiencia luego les sirve para contar qué han aprendido. Que en mi experiencia muchas empresas valoran más que siempre me ha salido bien y la vida es perfecta. Creo que las empresas valoran y valoráis la gente que sabe aprender.
Before we move to the final question, André, what would you tell, as we said before, going back to the initial question, what would you tell both the young generation and the less young one?
To the young generation, Mohamed, I will sign what he said, but I would say that be bold and always have the gut to follow your heart. That's it. And to the more experienced generation, please don't kill dreams. So next time your kid comes home and says, I want to build the next Facebook, don't laugh. Ask him what he needs.
Great. So if you guys want, because I think that's going to be the best part when we get people to ask you any questions or any doubts that they might have, I would really like to finish this panel with a very short message, kind of like a tweet pitch, saying kind of like the world that we have in front of us and everything we can do if we do have, as he said before, the nuts to go for it. So like just a very final, short, inspirational message. Katia, we can start with you. If you want, I mean, if not, we can move to that side.
Oh, no, I'm up for the challenge. Okay. I will take something that I included in the book that I try to remind myself of all the time, and that is we are all here and we are educated people and we're aware of what's going on in the world. We're global citizens. I would say that it's so easy to become, so we're holders of knowledge, and it is so easy to become hoarders of knowledge that we forget to share that with others, because the road to entrepreneurship can be a selfish, lonely one, when in fact we should all be bringing up each other with us. So when you go on your path, whatever that is, wherever your passion takes you, bring others up with you, and that way the impact that the world feels will be that much larger.
Thank you. Mohamed?
The world is full of problems, issues, conflicts, debts, disasters. If you just watch the media, you think that The end of the world is tomorrow. You know, you have no kind of reason to be optimistic. The young generation today are the hope we need. Give us a reason to think that tomorrow can be better. Give us a reason to believe again.
Thank you.
So I'm going to repeat a quote that I've said during my presentation, because all over the world and in all the people that I've met, I realized that there's one thing in common in all those 143 people I've met. They all look, whatever the problem is, they look for solutions. And nowadays, there's a lot of problems. Once again, the way we face the problems, the attitude we have towards the problem, it's what makes the difference. Okay, so that's my final message.
Intentadlo, equivocaros, intentadlo otra vez y equivocaros mejor. Y así un día llegaréis a ser como Mohamed, como André, como Pablo, como Katia, porque eso es lo que hacen ellos.
Muchas gracias. Bueno, un aplauso si queréis para todos ellos, antes de nada.